Hello, listeners. My name is Charles Scott. The program what you're about to listen to is called Can We Talk? I'm here with my son.
Charles Scott Jr. How you guys doing today? As I say each week, as you tune in, whether you tune in on TV or online, remember go on YouTube or go on Facebook, you can see dozens, if not multiple episodes of our past episodes.
We're here to talk about current events, some of the things that are going on in the city, the state, the nation, worldwide, and also what's happening within the real estate industry. There's a lot of things that are going on, as we tell you every week. You get your pad and your pencil, call your friends, put this down as your favorites. Some of the information we're going to give you could be helpful to you either now or maybe in the future, but we're here to give you information, some information that you could possibly use, and if not, share it with your friends.
Exactly. One thing I will say since our last episode, what I'm seeing right now at the market is I'm working with a lot of buyers right now. I'm working with sellers too, but working with buyers. But I'm seeing we're starting to tip. Like I said, this can be that one of those last summers where I'm gonna say the seller's gonna have control of the seller's market. We're getting more people who are negotiating. I'm actually getting one of my clients, the seller, to pay their closing costs, a portion of it. That's unheard of since COVID. It was very hard to get that done. So, which is very good because we need the buyers to have strength in this market too.
Yeah, real estate goes up and it comes down, goes up and comes down. In the long run, it always goes up more than it comes down. Mm-hmm. But you have what they call seller's market, buyer's market.
Yes.
Which means that, it's a seller's market. The sellers are able to, up the prices and usually get what they're looking for. In the buyer's market, everything comes down a little and the buyers have more of an edge. And what we see right now, things are sort of average. We've been predicting for years that things are going to finally, start changing around where houses are, they're still, prices are up there, but it's going to be more affordable. More people will be able to afford homes right now.
Yes.
Than have in the last year or two, or since COVID actually, and things went crazy.
I was going to say that because right now this is the first year we're seeing prices that have gone up, but not as much as they've had in the past, 2023, 22, 21. So like I said, we're getting not a crash. Everyone says, when's the crash? When's the crash? We're not going to see a direct crash like we did in 2007, 8, and 9. What we're going to see is maybe just an adjustment, a price correction where prices, kind of plateau. Although still type of high, but I will say more affordable than if it would have kept going up at this pace it was before.
Yeah, it's impossible for things to just keep going higher and higher and higher and higher. If that happens, then nobody will be able to afford anything, and it just doesn't make sense. So what's happening is that, if anything right now, we have a lot of sellers that we've talked to in the last year or so, and they actually have looked at all of the forecasts, and every time you talk to the seller, they want more, they want more, they want more. And if as long as the people within the neighborhood are able to get more, then they sort of feel as though, well, I should too. But what we see now happening is that things are coming down, and fortunately it's coming down at a slow pace, but it's coming down. I've been in situations where back in the 80s where, with overnight things just crashed, things just came down. It caught everybody off guard. You had houses that were selling for $250,000 one month, the next month they were down to $200,000. So things just came down tumbling. What we see happening right now out in the marketplace is that the prices are coming down gradually, because if before we had a house, you put a house on the market, it was sold in a week.
Oh, yeah.
People bidding on it, bidding wars, open house, cars down the street. Now we don't see that anymore. You have an open house, it's sort of coming back to normal where you might get maybe 4 or 5 people come to the open house, not 30, 40, 50 people coming to the open house.
Exactly.
And also you have the sellers that are willing to negotiate, like you just said. You had a property where the seller helped pay the closing costs.
But what I want to say also, there's still time in this, I'll say, real estate season. I'll date this episode. We're approaching the middle end of summer. I have a lot of sellers call me who's saying it's still a good time to sell. I'll say it's always a good time to sell, but are we going to sell your house this year and that item that may be downstairs, let's say a furnace that's malfunctioning, we're going to sell it now as is, or we're going to sell it next year where it has to be fixed. Because when the buyer has their inspection, they're going to say, well, the inspector says this is about to break. Versus a seller's market, we can get away with a lot more things. We can sell things as is. We're going to see that go away quite quickly as we enter into a buyer's market.
Right. Right now you have, like I said, the sellers are starting to, look at the prices that the other houses are selling for in the neighborhood. And sometimes you get a seller, you're right at the tipping point where you still have sellers that are, sort of holding out.
Oh, yeah.
They're holding out and they're holding out. But it doesn't work that way, because the more you hold out, like I always tell people, if you hold out for 4 or 5 months and you get your price, look at what happened in the meantime. You still had to pay your mortgage. You still had to pay your taxes. You still had to pay your insurance. So if you held out 4 or 5 months and you got $10,000 more than the last offer, look at how much money you've paid in the last 4. You've probably paid $15,000 out in carrying costs. So you really didn't win, because if you had sold 4 or 5 months earlier, that's $15,000 that you would not have had to pay.
Exactly.
Plus you risk something happening in the house where you might have a major repair that you didn't know about or you weren't aware of, and all of a sudden you find out you need a new roof. You find out the furnace conked out. Or you find out
Find mold behind the wall, anything.
And now there goes another $10,000 you got to spend that you have sold earlier. As long as you didn't know anything about it, and the people have their own inspection, it wouldn't be an immediate problem that you got to take care of right away.
Exactly. I was going to tell people that also. Now, I also want to say to buyers, this market is also good for you, because right now I'm working with a lot of buyers who are utilizing, especially ones who are here in Connecticut, different programs that are helping them with their down payment assistance, like the Time to Own program, which has a lot of money in it right now compared to last year, I will say.
Millions, right?
Yeah, it's going to go, I will say, right into the end of the year. So definitely give us a call if you have any questions about how to even get started. That's the one thing people will say, where do I start? They actually come to me first. When I realize, I tell them you have to go to the bank first. You got to get pre-approved. And they realize, okay, where do I go? What bank? Do I go to my bank? And I always say, although you've had that bank account since you were 10 years old, you don't owe any loyalty to that bank to get a mortgage. Shop around. Go to a local credit union. You might find some programs there that bank may not have. Or give us a call. We usually put our customers in the right direction of what mortgage would fit them.
Well, one of the things, too, that we find is that people are still calling us because people are buying their homes, or the landlord is selling the house, and the new landlord is coming in and raising the rent.
Yep.
Had a lady call me just today who had been in her present rental over 20 years.
Yes.
Over 20 years, actually almost 30 years, right?
Yeah, that's about.
She'd been renting almost 30 years in the same place, and now she's looking to the possibility of buying a house. And she actually called me about rent to own, where you rent the house and then you make payments and you own it. And I said to her, well, I haven't seen any of those around about 8 or 10 years.
You're not going to see those around until the market really drastically shifts, because remember, rent to own, you're saying you're agreeing with the homeowner, that whether it be 2, 3, whatever years you guys agree on, you're going to start overpaying that rent. So that extra money goes to your down payment. And you're promising that landlord, okay, in 2 years, I'm going to get a mortgage and buy the house from you. But within that 2 years, what could happen? Interest rates could go up. You could lose your job. Things could happen. How about this? What if the property value falls and he still wants that amount you said you were going to pay? So like I said, rent to own, we haven't seen that since before COVID, if not longer. And the thing is, these landlords want their money now. They're selling it on the open market.
It's been over 8 to 10 years since I've seen a situation where you have a rent to own situation.
Yes.
That's been a long time, 8 to 10 years ago. And because why would a person want to rent out his house when he can sell it and get all the money now? The only time you see that happening is where you have somebody who's had their house on the market for a very long time, and they want to sell it, but they can't, no one's buying it, so they decide to rent it and maybe give you situation where you can buy it later on. Maybe right now you don't have your credit ready. Maybe right now you don't have the money saved for the down payment.
Exactly.
But it's very risky for the seller, because what if 2, 3 years later, when you plan to buy the house, you still don't have your credit together. You still don't have the money that you want to have to fix up the house.
Well, the seller gets to make out. Why? Because the seller's going to keep all that extra money, or the landlord's going to keep all the extra money you paid him on top of the rent, and it's going to go to his pockets. And how about this? While you were living there, I'm sure, like in most rent-to-own situations, they're telling you to fix the house up. You might as well, because you're going to be living there and owning the house in a couple of years. So now you've fixed the house up, you've overpaid the rent, and you're still renting. And
Mainly what we're saying is that don't think about trying to do that. It'd be very rare if you found someone that would be willing to do it. And usually what would happen, even if you found someone that would be willing to do it now, it would be a house needing a lot of repairs that he can't sell, that gives him the incentive to do that. And you would have to make all the repairs, all of the things that are going on with the house until you bought the house, because he put in there, since you're renting to own, you're responsible for all the repairs.
exactly.
Now suppose you go and make up all the repairs, do the whole house over, and then at the end of the time, like my son said, you can't buy it because your credit still isn't good. He takes the house back. Now you fixed it all up for him, and now he sells it to somebody else.
How about that?
So it's risky on both sides to even think about doing something like that. So you're better off, saving your money up, getting prepared. Main thing is being prepared. I mean, just think, a lady or a person has been in the house for 30 years, they've been paying rent. Look at all the money they've made. Well, good jobs. Even if you make, say, average $40,000 a year, 40,000 times 30 years, that's $1,200,000.
Yep.
Even if it was on a lower scale, say you only made $30,000 a year for 30 years, that's almost $1 million that you have made. $1 million.
But when you pay rent, you see that just going to, like I'll say, slipping through your fingers. When you actually pay the mortgage and everything, you're building up a savings for the future. If anything, a house forces you to save because you're building that equity that you could then hopefully draw on in the future.
So if you're out there right now and you're paying a low rent, don't get too comfortable, because it's not a, let me put it this way. I always tell people it's not really a good thing. It's a good thing that you're paying a low rent now, but it's going to be a bad thing when the sticker shock comes in, when you find out look at your landlord. The landlord is saying, oh, my taxes have gone up, my insurance is going up, my water bill is going up, and the tenant's only paying a little small rent. I can't afford this. You know what? And most landlords, they don't have the courage to come and say, look, I'm going to go up on all of the rents,
I was
and
gonna
this,
say that.
because you've become friends after 25,
How
30
about
years.
this? Or, give us a call if you have situations similar to what we're saying. We're just giving you stories of what we experienced. But how about those landlords who may be related to the tenants, been there for a long
Relatives.
time, and they may not have the heart in them to raise the rent, or they know their family member doesn't have the income to pay the market rent.
Right.
So they give us a call and they say, how do I sell this property with the tenants in it? And then we see that a lot.
See it a lot.
And they say, okay, they won't feel guilty of not having to evict them, but the next person would either increase the rent or start an eviction if the rent cannot be paid.
Right. So if you're paying a very low rent out there, with that extra money that you've got, because don't forget, if you're paying a very low rent and you're making decent wage, save that extra money, because the time is eventually going to come when that landlord's going to sell that house because he feels as though he's not making enough money, and then all of a sudden, boom, you've got to decide where you're going to go. So save the extra money. Don't take the vacations. Don't go buy the new car. Don't go splurging on this and that and eating out and thinking, oh, I got all this money left over every week. Because there's going to come a time when you're going to wish you had saved all of that extra money that you have.
Definitely, I was going to say that also. But also, we talk about the sellers, some about buyers. Now, I would say give us a call if you're experiencing other situations. For example, people having reverse mortgage issues. People call us on that. We answer those questions. And some other ones, or some other things people call us about. Probate's another one.
Probate's a big one.
Real big one. People call us about probate constantly because remember, where do they turn to? There's no real information about it, but we actually specialize in probate. I'm going to start putting that in the bottom. We're the probate realtors.
We do a lot of cases where there's a probate situation involved.
Also, let me explain what probate is. People may say probate is, for example, let's say, God forbid, someone's grandmother passes away, and there's, let's say, 4 to 5 brothers and sisters. Now, what do you do with that house? Can you afford the mortgage? Did grandma take out a reverse mortgage? Give us a call. We're very experienced in those situations.
And in a lot of the situations, you know, we always have people say, well, if something happens to my mother, my father, or whatever it may be, my relative, I am going to inherit the house. The house is my house.
Oh.
And then I say, okay, is the house paid for? And they say, no. I said, well, you cannot inherit something that's not paid for. So therefore, whoever's name is on the, plus it has a lot to do with whoever's name is on that deed.
Yes.
You know, some people, we had a situation recently where the son got disinherited.
Oh yeah, how about that?
The son thought he was getting everything. Son changed parent passed away. Son changed the locks to keep anybody from going into the house. And the court, administrator called him up and said, who gave you permission to change the locks? You're not even on the will.
How about that?
Grandma didn't leave you nothing. She doesn't even want you in the house. I don't know what happened in the family matter in the background of that, but they had to send somebody up and change the locks and tell him not to go back into the house. He wasn't included in anything. And then there was other people that were involved that were inherited and were going to get the inheritance. But even then, the court has to give them permission to be able to enter the house or to conduct business. There's a lot that happens when you don't plan and you don't prepare.
And I also want to say those who may think that they're all right, where a situation, let's say people, their mother or father, say the father passes away, the mom still has the house, give us a call because we can look at that deed. We got to make sure that it has survivorship. People may think, oh, I go through probate. My mom's still alive. She owns the house. If we want to sell it, she can sell it. But you may not realize you may still have to go through probate because that deceased person, the father, is still on there, and there may be terms in that deed that said it has to go through probate. There is no survivorship. To eliminate all of those problems, you need an attorney. Disclaimer, we're not attorneys. We're not attorneys.
We can't give you legal advice because every single situation is totally different.
Everything's unique. Every probate situation is very unique.
I've probably seen 50, 60 of them, and there's not one single one that was the same as the other.
Nope.
They're all totally different, which means that if you're taking advice from a friend, a relative, or someone who's been through it, you really should have an attorney because what happens is their situation could be totally different from your situation. And you can't take advice based on what they said just to find out in the end that you've wasted a lot of time and effort and did all the wrong things when the court calls you up to ask you, where's the money? What happened here? Who's got this? We've had situations where family members have deceased, and maybe one daughter took it upon herself to come and get the keys to the car and take off with the car.
How about that?
And the court said, no. You got to bring the car back. Your name is not on the title. You don't own the car. If there's 4 people involved, all 4 of them get a percentage of the car. And if the car is not paid for, you can't take the car, period, because the car got to be paid for. You can't just drive off on a car. The debt is not automatically forgiven unless there was some insurance. And even if the insurance paid off the car, then it still belongs to the rest of the people. So there's all these different situations that you have to be aware of. My main advice is get yourself a lawyer. Find out what your rights are versus being put in a situation where you're forced into making unwanted decisions.
Exactly.
And then you have no control over. that you have no control over, because the administrator or whoever petitions or gets put in charge of everything, they are now calling the shots.
Exactly.
You know, you may be included, but you are a recipient of after the fact versus being a participant. So I'm just saying there's a lot of things, a lot of people out there, and then a lot of times things happen where people save all their life. They have properties, they do all the right things, but they put off making decisions because they don't want to offend any members of the household. So, and they don't tell anybody anything.
And we see that sometimes.
They don't discuss anything.
Sometimes we see that happen, and what happens is the elder relative, whether it be a grandfather or grandmother, they get a reverse mortgage for a big amount and don't tell anybody. And they don't realize that when grandma passes or big mama passes, something happens like that, that company's gonna come after the house saying, hey, you have two decisions. If there's any equity, you can sell the house, pay us back, or, relinquish the house to us.
Give us the house back.
Give us the house back.
And a lot of times the people say, what? We don't have it. She didn't have any mortgage. The house was paid for.
How about this? Well, good thing before she passed away, she quit claimed it to uncle or brother here, not realizing even if you quit claim it, your name is on the deed, they hold a note. They can still foreclose on you now. They have a note. It's like a car note. You can't just give your car to somebody and still owe money to the financer.
Without it being paid off.
Without being paid off.
So, enough of that. Not that we plan to, we're scaring you. We're just telling you to be proactive, because these things, we deal with it every day.
I'll say, on my career, I really don't see realtors talk about probate out loud. It's more of a secret call we get. Like, I feel like someone's about to pass away. What do I do with this land? What do I do with this asset? But it should be talked more, but give us a call. We can talk all day about probate. We're very good at it.
But the thing about it is, even when we get that call, the people don't have an idea of anything. They don't know. They don't even, we have to school them and say, well, we can't do that, what you want us to do. They want us to come and just sell the house. I say,
without the other family members knowing.
Don't tell anybody else.
If anything, probate is a very public thing. People must be notified. And if it's an extended family, newspaper ads must be put out.
Everything must be.
And everybody's considered, even those people, for example, let's say if someone passes away and they have children that are very young, 3-4 years old, they count. They get representatives.
Everybody.
They might get their own lawyers.
Yeah, if they don't have a lawyer, which they usually don't, the court will appoint one for them. So even they got a lawyer.
It's a very official process that may be
little Johnny is 6 years old, got his own lawyer.
Got his own lawyer. It may seem daunting, but it's something we see every day.
All the time.
And we take our time with it because you have to. But give us a call. You're going through situations where it's probate, give us a call.
Like I said, we're not lawyers, so usually what we do is we'll give you a list of probate lawyers, and we'll say, here, call these people up, get some advice, decide what you want to do, then come back and see us. That's how we usually handle that, because we don't give you any advice on any of that. We refer you to the professional people that handle that. So we talk a lot about that today, because we see it happening more and more.
More and more.
And I see it more and more as people get older. Hey, I'm up there in age, and all of my friends are up there in age, and people I went to school with are up there in age, and all the relatives. So now things that I talked to them about 40 years ago when they laughed about it, and they didn't even think about it. They said, I don't want to hear all of that. Now, some of them aren't even around to call me, and the other ones that are left, they said, remember when you talked to my husband 30 years ago about this, or 20 years ago about that? And I'm like, yeah, how's your husband doing? Oh, he passed away, or this or that. Now they are forced into coming to me and talking to me and trying to figure out, what to do. In some cases, the houses may be paid for. But I'm just saying, we're there. There's our telephone number. Give me a call, we can assist you and help you, with that situation. But there's a lot of them out there, and then there's a lot of the people who took reverse mortgages where they borrowed money on the houses. The worst thing that you can possibly do is sit there and do nothing when there's equity in that house. It's a matter of getting zero or getting a couple $100,000 by just making a phone call, and that's the number right there in some situations. So let us know.
I'll say, give us a call. People don't realize, I'll say, how we walk into a room, it's smelly, And after you've been there so long, you got nose blind. People are blind to what they're sitting in. You don't realize this house you're sitting in, yeah, you bought it in 1994, you paid X amount. There's someone, I'll say, someone in New York, someone in New Jersey who sees your house and say, I will pay you this amount. And you see that number, you may not believe it. Have us do a free CMA. We'll come by your house, look at it, we'll give you a CMA, give you what we think it can get in this market. And you'll be surprised. People will buy it as is sometimes.
As is. They don't care.
Yeah.
We just closed on a house, last week? And I drove by today and took some photos. The guy's got 6 workers up there.
How
They've
about that?
already knocked out the front of it. They've already cut down the trees in the front. They're putting a new garage door
Yes.
up. They're totally remodeling the entire
the
house. They bought it as is.
As is. And think about that. That's great for our older customers who don't have the time or labor to fix
Or the
these
money.
things or the money to do this new sheetrocking, pave this, new mailbox, new kitchen. There's people that are going to do that, and we're going to put that in the price too. They're going to say, all right, that's why it's priced that way, because they're selling it as is.
And you'd be surprised. You could get a pretty good penny for a fixer-upper, a rehabber. You may think your house is not worth that much, but you don't have to get out there and do all that work. Call us. We'll sell it as is.
Right now, as of summer 2025, don't give us a call this time next year and just say, hey, what about that as is? That was last year. This is a buyer's market now. I mean, we can still sell it, but it's going to be fixed is. We got to fix this, fix that, fix that. But right now, we can definitely sell it as is.
So there's a lot of information that we gave you today, and there's a lot of different situations, and we could talk about this subject for 2 or 3 days
But
straight.
give us a call. Number's right there.
Every situation is different.
Yes.
The worst thing you could do is listen to your friends, your relatives, and the people that did make, they have a good heart. They're telling you what happened to them. But that just may not be your situation.
Exactly.
Period. They think they're helping you. So give us a call, and then we can help you. And for the buyers out there, there's still some money
Yes.
that's available in what the program, like my son said, Time to
I
Own.
know, and other programs
That's
too.
money to help you buy. Grant money.
Yes.
Money that as long as you stay in the house or 10 years,
It's
you don't
forgivable.
you don't have to pay the money back. They can help you. So we sort of can help you out a little bit with everything.
Exactly.
So hopefully we've been able to help you today. Pass it on to your friends. Go to some of our other episodes. Go to YouTube.
Well, like I said, give us a call. We picked the phone
us a
up.
call.
People don't realize that. Until next week,
God bless.
amen.